Okay. Um, that was a lovely answer that John gave. From the anger to the part of watching it and qualitatively changing his response. Uh, One of the things that I learned on my journey was that along with the changes that one brought within oneself, or rather, which came on their own, is a better way to, because you are more of an observer and you see, oh, the moment you observe, or you just allow yourself not to react in that present moment, the thing itself changes in the context, in the quality, and in the way you come across. Now, this kind of quality, the changes that come in our personality over a period of time, also impact the people around us. Any which way, positively, sometimes even negatively. I have been told by, I remember many years back, I used to work with a guy that I absolutely adore till date. And even he seemed to like me. But he said, yeah, these Sufi things that you hear, or something that I used to share a quote every day with around 50 friends of mine on mail. So he disliked the spiritual angle to it and something. And he categorically told me that this thing is bullshit and whatever. And I couldn't figure out because I really liked the person and he seemed to like me. And I like this aspect of subtlety that happens between what is actually good or actually bad. Also, then there is other elements that keep on influencing that feeling that we have about anything. So if you and I both like ice cream of a certain kind, but then you will say if they give a plastic spoon, my mood is spoiled. Something like that. It could be as simple as this. And I like these subtleties because then the individual in you comes out, the individual in me comes out. And now my question to you is, okay, when John was changing and you've been married for a long time, I'm presuming. So how did you or other people around him view these changes? Were they apparent? I've heard many times इतना meditation करता है गुस्सा तो ऐसे करता है क्या कुछ समझ तो आती नहीं बात. While you yourself are trying to understand, I am supposed to be peaceful now. What happened to me today? So somebody else is definitely coming up and telling you, अरे बड़ा तो वैल्यूज वर्कशॉप पे तो बहुत ज्ञान देता है, यहाँ क्यों नहीं समझ आती बात. अब क्योंकि नहीं आती है, अब क्या करें, उस दिन का दिन ऐसा है, या मेरा जोन ऐसा है, और मैं वो नहीं हूँ जो तुम सब समझते हो. मतलब इट्स नॉट कास्ट इन स्टोन, it's a work in progress all the time. So it will bring up what it brings up. I also am trying to study it. So ये तो अंदर की बात है. I will allow my bias towards myself to adjust. नहीं नहीं, I understand that you were hurt and that's why you were doing it. But how do others take it? How did you uh, process the changes that he started showing in his personality?
So, as I said, I usually look at everything from me only, from inside and outside of me. So I see another person's anger. If it's aimed at me, I feel that it's both of us. So I don't feel that anger is a bad thing, and that bad thing shouldn't be there, and that bad thing is aimed at me. I think what is my way of handling and dealing with this whole issue. So when I look at it, I realize a whole lot of things. So it's always, it takes two to tango, they say, na? Two hands
Yeah.
to clap. So I don't think that the goody goody gumdrops, which I definitely am, and is not part of the angry man, which he definitely is. I think it's both the same thing. I really don't think, even in that issue which I was saying, that I was triggered some shadow of mine. Now, anyone, if I tell them the story, they'll say she was the bad person, she's the insane person, and I'm the saint. I mean, there's anyone looking at us, that's the picture. I don't see it like that. Think that this has happened to both of us. We are two people, we are joined in this whole thing for some reason, and we both have to go within ourselves and see what is happening. So that's the way I look at it. It's yeah. I don't think good people are good at all, and I don't think angry people are bad at all. I have the inside story, and it's not that I'm being sneakily bad. I'm actually good. In any way you look at it, that doesn't mean I'm good at all. It's a very this subtlety. I think you will understand. Many people. It's very hard to even see this, but I have a feeling you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, last week when I was doing the podcast, something came up. I did mention that very often when I'm talking all these wise things, there is one part of me also looking at myself, and I may ask you a very relevant question and what seems like a very wise question to ask. Internally, I know I don't know the answer to that. Experientially, intellectually, we've all perhaps read books or whatever. We've gone to satsangs. Like he very rightly, that was a very beautiful example. In the middle of the sea, when the storm hits you, kind of thing. And now, who are you? And your compass is not working. That is scarier. I've never gone there with the compass part of it. I think I'm going to introspect on that a bit. Um, Another thing
We
that
live our lives completely without compass, huh? Both of us. I've never seen him with a compass, and I've never felt I have ever have a compass. We're totally out of control.
okay, I want to bring in an angle which I talked about earlier. My wife also had a condition, brain condition, till 2 years back, and she passed away 2 years back. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because it's such a human thing. I realized when we had a very late marriage. I was 35, she was 33. We were quite established in our ways of thinking, uh, and we had a kid immediately within 1 year of our marriage. And she's a teen now, and her growing up, my dad was unwell, she was unwell, and yet I found that the initial uh, anger, disappointment with ourselves, with the situation, with each other, all of it kind of uh, started to dissolve when the thing became unbearable. Like life, you kept calling it life. I love that term because it just became the reality. So then you suddenly became a humbler version of yourself, re-looking at things that you took for granted, and uh, and also enjoying things. But it may actually, that's why I really know what you're saying. There is no good person, there is no bad person, and we had. I'll give you one strange example that happened. She used to lose her voice very often. So once or twice when I got angry at her, she would retaliate and her voice would come back. And the voice would come back. Something that doctors were unable to get back. The medicine wasn't working. But if she was angry and she said, "Why are you behaving like this with me?" the voice would definitely come back. And I would feel very pained. I was very pained about it that this was the only way that I could trigger her voice to come back. And I used to write a blog, then I stopped writing it at some point. But I actually, contemplated on that. What a misery this is, that the pain is the solution to another pain.
Yeah.
And in this, am I really a good husband? Am I a bad husband? What am I really doing? And I started checking myself. But over a period, thankfully, we both practiced together every day. And we found moments going to doctors, sitting in a Udipi and having upma or dosa or whatever. The smallest things meant the most because they were uh, trigger free. We really understood the importance of having a good moment with each other without uh, her disease troubling us. Like it was the one thing I had told her, it is not happening to you. Very rightly you put it. I said, we are in it together. Either you pass away or I pass away. One of us will pass away for this to end. But this is together. So you don't have to worry about that aspect at all. And I really appreciate you bringing it up because very often, now this may seem humorous also. If my friends come to me with a problem, I tell them this is a good place to be in. And they really do not know whether am I giving them advice or am I happy that they are unhappy. But I keep telling them, no, this is a good point, good place to be, because otherwise, if everything is all right, you will not be able to come up with any kind of wisdom.
Yes.
Actually, you will become lethargic or unhappy in a bigger manner later on, accept what is coming. And thankfully, some of them do take it from me because they know a bit of my history and feel okay, this guy has lived his life with difficulties. But they still do not understand. They may land up calling me pessimistic, or but I don't even see it as pessimism or optimism. Neither. It just is, and the beauty of that is that it doesn't allow me to negotiate what I feel about it. So that is how my lessons in acceptance started increasing. I have to admit that once she passed away, I think my growth is slower because the challenge is gone away in a way. Uh, but then again, life being life is very kind. My daughter is now turning in a, like she's turned a teen a couple of months back. So now I have new challenges of trying to figure out how to communicate where both of us understand what is being spoken of. Now in that space, John, what I'll end up doing is over a period I understood is you've got to present what you feel about yourself with adequate respect. Having handled two patients at different points of time, where their needs were always more important than mine because physically they needed something and I needed to deliver. Uh, Sometimes not in a good manner. I was angry and I wanted my space, but I didn't have that. But uh, still, the on a weighing scale, their needs were more, and that had to be done. Over a period, I had to retrain myself that now with my daughter, who's normal, I am normal, and I need to put forward my point of view without being angry as a parent, but telling her, look, this is not done. And this is why I think this should be like this. According to my experience, I'm putting this across. Very rarely, when she was younger, I always said this also. Look, I'm your father. I know best because my father did the same. But rarely. I told her, look, I don't have an answer, and every time expecting a wise answer, it's not possible. Sometimes I don't have any good answer. I just मेरा mood है तो आज मैं dad हूँ अब यही करना पड़ेगा थोड़ी देर ये करो बाद में we'll figure out what we need to do with your problem. But mostly now I try and present the truth and very the term I'm using is very no in a very where there's no conflict in my presentation. When I'm presenting it to you, I'm telling you I do not like what you're doing right now, but I'm not putting it in a way that you are going to get up and start fighting. I'm just presenting it. Look, this is how I feel about the subject. Because if conflict wala tone aa jata hai, so then there is obviously you're opening the door to their reaction as well. So how do you look at uh, or what do you do? This is my modus operandi. I present it and I leave it there. So it can be rejected also. You can say no. So if I'm going somewhere, I know that she'll have a good time. I'll tell her, do you want to come along with me? Uh, and this is what I'm thinking. So she has a right to say, no, I don't want to come with you. Even though I know that she might have a good time. So I may tell her, this is what I was intending. She will, no, but I still want to go meet my friend. I don't want to spend time with you right now. So how do you quote unquote present your stuff, or is there something that you do to ease the harmony bit, going back to the first answer of sorts?
The first answer being
About
Being you try and bring the harmony with other people. So this is my way of ensuring there's harmony because there's humility and there is the truth. The truth is being mentioned. I do not like what you're doing, or if you're saying no to me right now, so there is a possibility that I may not have time later when you want to go out or something. Uh, so I am being very clear about this. So I will say no later. You may not like it, but this is what it is. So you have to choose between being with your friend or whatever else you are doing, or being with me at this point of time. So it's a hurtful truth, but because of the nature of what I'm proposing, because I am bringing my angle to it, you now tell me what is your angle, and that helps the harmony stay.
Uh, this started with a questioning, like an inquiry.
Okay, I'll ask you in a form of a question. If there is a disagreement between both of you, and you know there is going to be a disagreement in advance because of what you're going to propose, how do you present it so that it does not affect the harmony between you two or anybody, any relationship, working, family, whatever?
Yes. No, no. So to answer to that, because I had many such similar situations in my life, and my inquiry was, do I actually know what is best for the other person? Do I truly and absolutely? I mean, and then I realized I don't even know what is truly and best for me.
Yeah.
And uh, there was one person called Marshall Rosenberg who tried to, and he's very, very highly educated, but he also has put his heart into it. So, it's a little bit the best of both. Uh, try to give a certain system of compassionate communication.
Oh, wow.
And one of the things he said, I think, is among the most powerful of what I've heard, that when I'm with somebody, the best way to receive what they say is with complete silence and just offer my presence to them. No alternative, no advice, no fixing, not even encouragement, just my silent presence. And I something in the way he said it, it just went very deep.
It's quite
And there are times when I can't do it, Sundar, because uh, there's too much of noise over here, and so I do try and do it in the way you said, that I really feel that this would have been better, or I feel that maybe you should think about this, and I do say that
Not really.
sometimes. But if I'm concerned, but I've noticed what this is what I'm sharing with you. I've noticed if I just give my presence, that life is flowing, and I just give the silent presence to whatever that person is sharing. Whether I agree, disagree, if I want to say something, I just stay with the silence and I just offer my just being with them without too much of chatter.
nice. Okay. Uh, this is setting the bar too high.
Yeah, we actually are unschooling parents. So I can send you some stuff on that. But so we have not reprimanded our children and shouted at our children and asked them to do anything that they didn't want to do, and they didn't go to school, so they didn't have to do anything, and they literally didn't do anything that they didn't want to do. So and they did everything that they wanted to do, and that was it. So
I don't know. I think that is a different kind of hell that I can't imagine. I'll,
But there is one thing.
it was pure heaven.
Well, there is one thing, Surinder, now that you mention it, because as I told you, there were times when it was too difficult for me. So what I did try to do was to try and be a little grounded and then say what I said. And even a little bit of that energy now of groundedness, you can say the same thing, but with the quality of that connection with yourself. When you say it, it comes out a little more kinder, a little gentler. And it's something inexplicable, but that person is able to receive the same thing. If you look at the subject matter, it will be almost the same. But there's a certain place from where you said it that the person at least recognizes that, okay, this is what uh, his opinion is. And when I connect, and so just before saying it, I just spend the silence. I just sense my being, and I just then speak from there. And I can even say that, see, this is very important, and that's why I feel I would like to share this with you. And this is what I want to say. And I would really like to give you the space to respond to it however you feel the need. But at the same time, it will meet my need to express myself. And I think that this would meet both the things of, because suppressing, I fully agree with you, Surinder. Suppressing it, and when I feel it's too difficult to just keep it down or tamp it down, it's also not the way to go, because that's again a forced thing which I'm not
Yeah,
being kind to myself. So if I'm able to connect and then say what my opinion is, that I feel that this would have been it's what my opinion is, that I would have preferred if you did this instead of that. But I give you the space to receive it. I think you reached that place from what you said, that you are offering this as something which is deeply felt in you, and
it,
that you don't have any need for the other person to respond in a certain way. Is that, am I correct in saying that?
yeah, because also otherwise I think the seed of whether it is peaceful or conflict is in that place where we come from. That's why I love the term compassionate communication, because you cannot, compassion kind of includes us automatically. It cannot be only compassion to the other. You got to start with yourself, and then you got to include whoever you want to include, or maybe all of them.
Yes.
So uh, one trick question is going too well. So where are the problems? This all seems so good and nice. Urmila, where are the problems? Where does one find that, oh, I do not have an answer to this? Or maybe even with, uh, I think, I don't know where I had read that with all my wisdom, I think in that, give me the grace to forgive people whom I cannot avoid or something like that. So the idea is that with all our wisdom, there are days when you feel like this morning was actually that time. After a long time, I had that little 10 minutes of feeling, what are you doing with your life? Like, do you really know what you want to do or whatever? And the answer was no, I do not know. And I said, oh, maybe this flux is not a bad thing. You're actually neither that spiritual journeyman that you think that you are, and neither are you the belonging to the material world and doing all those things. You are just living each moment, and that is why you're unable to define. Now stay with this, however uncomfortable this is. That was my answer to myself. So what is the question for you in such circumstances? Does Is there a time where you really feel a little uh, taken in by circumstances and finding that, okay, what is the right way to do things? Is there any such time that happens, either of you or both of you?
I just now told you, no, I had this huge thing. I had to. It was like a breakdown. I completely breakdown. I couldn't move. Whatever I did, it would end badly. So I was absolutely like stuck in 1 millimeter like that. If I do this or say this, or if I say the opposite or do the opposite, both ways I've had. So I had to withdraw from everything. I had to withdraw from life completely. It was the. It's not that it was rosy. It was the opposite of rosy. So yeah, bad things happen all the time. We have problems all the time. Our finance is something which people all struggle with, no? That you have to be financially stable. From the beginning of our childhood, him and me, we have been in high, low, multiple times by life. But that's because we have been traveling without a compass, and we don't know how also to use a compass. We wouldn't recognize one if we saw one. So it so happens in his individual life it happened like that, and in my individual life it happened like that, and we've come together. His friends used to think that I must be the sensible one, he's the crazy one, and my friends must have thought that poor fellow, he doesn't know who he married. Because both of us, but to society, we look very sane and stable and sensible. Nobody knows what madness we live.
Uh,
So we actually, it's all haywire. We actually don't know anything what's going. It's not like you were saying that, is there any time when you're kind of not sure of things? I'm always not, I'm never sure about anything. I absolutely am all the time unsure of everything. And that's why I like what he said. Not do I, when you asked about your daughter, how, what if you want to tell her something? And he very truthfully, that's exactly what we felt. That do we really know better than them what is good for them? And we were very sure that we did not. No, we were not sure enough as parents to tell them what to do and what not to do. Really, till today we don't know. Even if we
it
discuss
is.
it with each other, we still don't know.
Sorry, I didn't get the last line.
Even if we discuss it with each other, we don't know. Should we tell him this? Should we tell her that? Or shouldn't we? Should we support her or him in this or shouldn't we? We don't know actually. I'm not. It's not a. It's not a like trying to impress you or something. We actually
No,
don't know.
no. The what is running in my head is where I stay in my building. I find because I have been working from home for the last 8-10 years. So the other housewives of the building and I are good friends, kind of meeting in the lift and dropping to school and picking them up. So I know both the kind of lives. I was working from home. Being a writer is fairly easy with technology helping you. You can work from your phone now. All of those things were useful, but most of the time I was doing things that most people do at home, staying all day. So irrespective that I'm working, my mom would call out and say, "Dal khatam ho gaya, jao lekar aao." And like, hello, I'm working on something important, but that is equally important kind of thing. So one of the things that's coming to me is I find a lot of people drive their kids to dream big uh, or push this whole uh, version of be a winner in the world or whatever, those kind of things. Uh, till today, like it's on right now. Look at the number of classes and the kind of fees and the kind of varied. You can go to dance class of this kind and that kind and uh, dining classes and lots of things happening all over. Uh, I find I find this takes away the spontaneity that uh, the next generation is used to having as children. So as they grow, then they become very measured in their way when they come across to you, or reserved, or or tailored is a better word because these days we are actually fitting them in the way that we seem to want. How do you, as parents, or what? Like this question is very well put that you don't know better. Uh, but well, we've always been slave driven in India. So you have kids, they can be thrashed, as in, at least when we grew up, it was quite normal. Now they are no longer thrashed. A lot of them are indulged, which is another extreme, I think. Um, but you are one of the, like, the third podcast in a row where you are parents, but they were teachers in the last two podcasts. And they landed up talking about the same way of functioning, um, where you allowed the kids to find their own wisdom by learning and falling and so on. How how do your kids see it? How does your kid see it? Do they, like, one of the teachers actually said that her kids are 7 and 10, and sometimes they get frustrated. At least make a decision once in a while and tell us what should be done. Why should I tell you? You do it the way you feel like. I'm here with you. Oh, no, that like in fact that was there was a girl. whose friend was not a good girl. So, mom, she's not a good person. You should tell me not to play with her. No, if you want to play with her, it's all right. No, but there's no other girl, so I want to continue playing with her, but I'll not become like her. Okay, don't become like her. So it's a decision. She says that makes her most happy because they've arrived at that decision on their own. To me, these are new things. Honestly, around me, very few people do I see who are so easygoing, or at least I don't know of them. I was very clear about one aspect, that if you are bringing a child in this world, let it be a responsible child. Let them not be a burden on the world in terms of behaving irresponsibly, doing what they want, and being bad natured because you've indulged them. So, this was the only condition I kept in my mind when I was about, even much before I became a parent. Because I found that kids were very good. Most of the time, it was parents' indulgence that kind of took them on a path which they couldn't come back from sometimes, unfortunately. So, what is it that you tell yourself as parents? Did you tell yourself anything at all, or is this one line was always fitting?
No, I had one nice example about this. What you said about the teacher story, na, is our daughter used to. So Johnny was always. I used to think of it as overindulgence, but I came to understand the difference of between overindulgence by parents who are coming from a space of maybe giving in to the children to get them out of their way, and John, who was giving to his children out of pure love, very pure love. So anything they wanted, they could have. So what happened was, and I was very uncomfortable with that because I came from a background where, like what you're saying, no, you don't overindulge. So her daughter, the thing is that in that dynamic, she was the older one of all of them, and she came and she used to keep harassing mom. Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? I want to buy this. And I said that why you coming and harassing me? Just go ask Papa, because Papa. She says I won't ask Papa because he'll just say yes. So
It was not a challenge for her. The challenge was to convince her.
not to convince me. She actually wanted to
Wanted to
know, is
know.
it
The
okay or
mother,
is
Yeah,
it not?
yeah,
Whereas he's saying yes, just go buy it, was not helping her to know whether it's useful to buy it or not.
yeah.
So I found that they got inner discipline and inner responsibility from having to make decisions themselves. Also, later on in life, they realized, oh, Mama and Papa are not going to bother to prepare us for a sound future. The full responsibility is on us. So they took it on. We were genuinely going to support them, but not really, advise them or point them in any specific direction, because we actually believed they knew better. We always found them wiser than us in every way. So yeah.
wonderful. I keep learning with every episode, and off late, I've been getting guests who completely overwhelm me with their sense of being. So you mentioned two words here about John, pure love. I
Yes.
think both of you seem to evoke a sense of honesty about this search. As human beings, we are this perennially curious beings trying to figure out either about the world or nature or ourselves or whatever the journeys are called. And I'm glad that you shared this part of the journey with me. And thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.